ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Monday, July 27th. Let's get your week started off right with today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. You know the drill. If you don't, let me get you caught up. Our text line is open. It's brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. We get that going every day at 304-396-TALK. That is 304-396-8255. Just give you a heads up. I'm out of here next week. I'm off for a week, so you want to get that stuff in now, because if not, you're going to have to wait. So you've got something that, it's been burning for a few days, or there's just something you got to get off your chest. I'm just going to tell you right now, this is your week to do it. If not, it's going to sit for a while, and you don't know what to do with it for that entire week. So get it off your chest now. So I invite you to get going with the text line. Again, one more time, just to get you caught up on that. It's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. So we got baseball coming up tonight. Pirates got the win over the Cubs 8-7. And so the Buccos will open up a series with the Diamondbacks. Very important series tonight. 6:40 will be first pitch. We go on the air 6:15 right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Also, the Reds got the better of the Cardinals. Always happy to see that. 5-3 in 10 innings. So it's the Battle of Ohio. Reds will play host to the Guardians tonight at 7 o'clock. Battle of Ohio, always meaningful. I am not a Cleveland fan any stretch of the imagination. You couldn't come up with really a scenario for me to get me to say, I'm going to root for Cleveland. Wasn't a Cleveland fan when LeBron was there. Wasn't a Cleveland fan when LeBron wasn't there. Not really a Cleveland fan. And that means football. That means baseball. That definitely means basketball. Anything else they've got, I'm not a fan of it. So you know where I'm at tonight with the Battle of Ohio. Go Reds all the way there. And, of course, the other thing that has been going on, and I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not watching this still. I did flip over real quick, and I don't know which game it was, but I flipped over. I had the Fox app up on my player. It's like, okay, let me see what's going on real quick. Okay, TBT. Let me pop in real quick. Oh, look, this looks like it's being played in a high school gym. And I looked at it for like maybe a minute or two. I'm like, no, I'm not in. And just completely backed out and did not give it a second thought. But La Familia continues to continue as it beat the Syracuse alumni team, Boeheim's Army, 70-66. Only reason I know what happened was because, again, our news director, Bill Cornwell, a Marshall Hall of Famer in the journalism department coming up this fall, going to be inducted. He is a Marshall guy through and through. And he's even a bigger Kentucky guy in basketball. And I overheard him talking about it. Oh, hey, and then he comes by and he updates me because I didn't know what happened. So I was worried there. And apparently La Familia came back. They were down after the Elam ending, and they hit the target number before Syracuse. Of course, I'm a bigger Syracuse fan than I am a Kentucky fan. I'm not going to lie to you on that because, one, and I'll justify it this. One, because they had a really good broadcasting program. I was looking at broadcasting programs across the country when I was in high school. So, Syracuse is really. And two, I'm just a big fan of the color orange. Plain and simple. I don't know if that explains my Bengal fandom 100% or not. I mean, I like both orange and black. I don't know if that's the true driver here. Maybe it's not. But I like Boeheim. I like the Big East as it was the basketball conference to watch for many years. I was a big fan of just watching the Big East. But I would have pulled for Syracuse's alumni team over the Kentucky alumni team. So now La Familia moving on to the alumni finals on Wednesday night at, quote, the this is not my words, Bill Cornwell's, quote, historic Memorial Coliseum against the winner of tonight's game between the Kansas alumni team and the Wichita State alumni teams. So that's coming up tonight, and Kentucky's alumni team gets the winner. Am I missing it completely? Have I checked out and I should check in on this thing, the TBT? Because, again, I don't like the format this year. I liked it when you had the little guy. And, of course, that means, I liked it when Heard That was in there. The little guy, oh, look, it's the Marshall alumni team. It's Heard That. It's John Elmore. It's Ott Elmore with his quotable comments on social media. It's the whole underdog mentality there of that squad. And, of course, Best Virginia, always in and always game to cause a ruckus. I had a little bit more of investment there. Maybe not the case now. I just don't like how they narrowed the format down a little bit. So I know it's a bigger prize, and it feels like it's a smaller tournament. Bigger prize, smaller tournament. But I don't like this current format. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe the championship game I'll probably tune in just to see how that goes. And again, the TBT was a lifesaver for us many years ago when we were going through COVID, and we just didn't have anything. We had a show. We had a daily show, and we didn't have anything going on. So the TBT was absolutely saving our sanity on a daily basis. But now I'm not a fan of this thing. I don't know what's changed for me, but I don't think I watched any basketball. I don't even think I even looked at the WNBA All-Star game. I didn't watch any of the skills competition. I saw some of the stuff on social media. That was about it there. That really didn't do anything for me. I know we had some racing action yesterday, and the Brickyard 400 always brings out the excitement in motor racing. I mean, again, you're running at the Brickyard. It's a tremendous racetrack, historic racetrack, and Corey Heim and 2311 Racing win the Brickyard, and then in Formula One, Lando Norris and McLaren win the Hungarian Grand Prix. So it was a big day of racing yesterday. Of course, we've got IndyCar coming up on our sister station, Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340, as that has continued to be exciting and fun to listen to. If you haven't yet, I'm actually a big fan of open wheel, more so than I am NASCAR. And it's not a stab or a shot at NASCAR. It's just I've always been more interested in the Indy 500. It just felt like a bigger spectacle to me. And, of course, I would pair that with the Coca-Cola 600 as a kid growing up. And we had like 4 or 5 channels. It was like, hey, the Indy 500, that was a big deal. Then you had the Coca-Cola 600, that was a big deal as well. And those were like some of the few races I knew, but I always seemed to prefer the Indy racing. Long story short, hey, you should tune into that stuff. It's coming up on our sister station, Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. So we're going to get your text in. We'll do that here in just a few minutes, and we'll open that up now. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 is the number to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. A lot of things happening in the world of sports today. Some things not so pleasant. We're going to get into all of that and your text when we continue with today's edition of The Drive. It is ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Injured in a fall? Warner Law Offices is now here for you in Huntington on 4th Avenue across from the courthouse. Personal, local, decades of experience.
Call 345-6789.
Our Kindred Communications family of stations reminds you of the need for blood donations to the Red Cross. Blood is always needed. It may save your life or the life of a loved one. This reminder is brought to you in part by
Genesis Oxygen and Home Medical Equipment, serving Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia since 1977. Oxygen, CPAP, wheelchairs, beds, wound care, and more. Most insurance is accepted, 24/7 emergency services. Genesis, a world of difference. Go Mart. Go for good times. Go for Go Mart.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolade spells powerful relief. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Kelly Clarkson, and I've toured the country dozens of times, and there's one thing every state has in common: childhood hunger. The sad truth is that 17 million kids don't know where their next meal is coming from, or if it's even coming at all. Yet there are billions of pounds of surplus food around the country at farms and warehouses that could help end this injustice. But all that food is useless if it doesn't get where it needs to go. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gathers surplus food and gets it to hungry kids before it goes to waste. But they can't do it without your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank. Find out how at feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together we're Feeding America.
To help solve hunger in your community and to find your local food bank, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
I'm Sally, a volunteer at United Way. I'm asking people around the neighborhood what they think this place needs. Excuse me, hi. What do you think this place needs?
I'd like to see more parking.
More playgrounds.
Free movies.
That's easy. Better restaurants.
And you, what do you think this place needs?
This place? Oh, more ice cream trucks.
Okay. How about you?
Wi-Fi everywhere?
I was thinking more money in the pockets of local families come tax time.
Can I change my answer?
I was just kidding about the ice cream.
Oh, that's way better.
Now that you mention it.
When it comes to getting better tax refunds into the hands of local families, what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org. Because great things happen when we live united. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Miss an episode? Catch it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. You can also find me on X at Paul Swann. I logged in today. I really hadn't been hitting X in a while. And I get on X, and the first thing I see is ESPN releasing its 100 games that explain college football in 2026. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. Let me check this out. And there's several themes to this. The themes are making legends, innovations, postseason drama, upsets, frustrating finishes, TV rules, realignment effects, and classic endings. So I went through the list and started looking, and there's some interesting games here. And I went looking for Marshall, and lo and behold, Marshall makes the list. So yeah, what game did Marshall get picked for? And again, this is the list name: 100 games that explain college football in 2026. So I'm like thinking, what could what could a Marshall game explain for 2026? What could it be? And so we got to go all the way down to number 73 on the list. And it's October 14th, 1999. Oh, okay, I know which one this is. Number 15, Marshall, 38, Toledo, 13. This game, according to the reason why it's on the list, quote, granted, it was played on a Thursday night and not a Tuesday or Wednesday, but we'll still count this as the first MACtion game, a battle between the MAC's two sturdiest late 1990s programs. Chad Pennington threw for 393 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Gary Pinkel's Toledo just couldn't keep up with the two-time defending conference champs. Weeknight football would only become more viable moving forward. So you look at the list and some of the games that are in the category, and again, this is TV. The siren song of TV is the way the category is explained. I'll read this. I don't want to read the entire article, but it's a fun read. But the ESPN article says fans of virtually every sport in the world will spend hours telling you all the ways that television has ruined their game of choice. I personally enjoy the fact that I can watch almost literally any game I want on a given Saturday, but TV has certainly impacted the direction of the sport, especially as it pertains to conference realignment. And at this point, you can't tell college football's story without tracing its TV history. And so Marshall gets mentioned along with Toledo as part of the TV history. Now, some of the knocks on getting out of the MAC was the TV money wasn't there. Some of the knocks getting out of the MAC was MACtion. Would you, if the TV money was right, would you be down? I think I already know the answer to this, but if the TV money was right, would you be down for MACtion? Or are you someone who feels like, okay, Saturday, that's when you play college football. You play Saturday. Occasionally you play on Thursday, but you play on Saturday. You don't play on Friday. You don't play on Tuesday. You don't play on Wednesday. You don't do any of that. That is blasphemy. You don't do that whatsoever during the regular season. You play on Saturday like real college footballs, proper college football teams. Or would you be down, in hindsight, would you be down for a little MACtion or a little version of it? For me, I don't think it's for Marshall. And the reason being is because Marshall attendance would, I think, definitely go down. That's the thing. I don't think there's any amount of television money at this level that could be offered up. Now, if you're playing at a higher level, the television money is a lot higher as well, and you can compensate for some of the ticket loss, I think you definitely go for it. But if you're a Mid-American Conference school right now, what's the attendance like on average compared to, say, some of the other leagues? I don't know if, you've got a case for, hey, these games on Saturday would really improve the attendance that much more. But on the flip side, Marshall's always been a suitcase college, a commuter school, and a lot of people get the heck out of town on a Friday night. A lot of Marshall students go home, watch the high school teams play, right? I mean, that might be an oversimplification of it, but there are a lot of students that go to Marshall that are not interested in sports. They're non-traditional students. There's also a handful of students that maybe just don't like sports, period. They're not there for that. I don't know what that number would be, what that percentage would be. And there's a lot of students that they go on a Friday night. They leave because it's easy to get to Marshall from a lot of points from where the students are coming from. And so they go home on a Friday night, and maybe they don't come back on a Saturday. And they come back on Sunday, get ready for classes on Monday. I know that has been, thrown as a reason in the past of why we don't see that much support from the student body. On the flip side, I was reading a story earlier where it's getting harder and harder for students at Ohio State to get tickets. They have to apply. If you're a student at Ohio State, you got to apply for your tickets. You don't automatically get your tickets. And if you're a senior, you should have an easier time get your ticket or get a ticket compared to freshman, sophomore, junior. And it appears that Ohio State, the allotment kind of getting harder and harder. Where's that allotment going? Well, there's a higher demand for tickets for Ohio State, and the students suffer. Whereas Marshall, if you're a student, it's a lot easier. I would love to see a situation at Marshall University, not to get too far derailed here off of this, but I'd like to get to the point where Marshall student ticket demand, it exceeds amount. That's what I want to see. I want to see it to the point where the demand for a Marshall student ticket exceeds the allotment for Marshall students. Plain and simple. It would be a different atmosphere if more Marshall students took advantage of the ticket allotment. More of a Marshall student presence. It would feel like a whole different atmosphere if the students were involved and in charge a little bit more. And going back to the original thought here, you play these midweek games of television, it was basically told to me for many years, previous administrations, that the TV money meant more with the time shifts and the day shifts. The TV money meant more than, at the time, the ticket money. Interesting, isn't it? That the TV money was more meaningful than the actual money that you were getting from the attendance of the fans. That is something you need to chew on a little bit. I would think that the ticket money would be always preferable, create such a demand for the ticket. Maybe you charge a little bit more. I don't know. I'm not saying that you don't want to lowball this. I don't want to price you out of the market as well. But the fact that you could have a shift on times and days sometimes, more so than when you had the 12-day window, is because the ticket money didn't matter as much as the television money you were getting. Of course, Sunbelt games are primarily on ESPN unless they're going to an out-of-conference opponent that has a different platform. Like the Penn State game is going to be on FS1. So that's going to be a little bit different than what you're used to when it comes to the schedule. Most of your games are on ESPN or ESPN Plus. And so far, FS1's your Penn State game. Middle Tennessee is your ESPN Plus game. CBS Sports Network is your Missouri State game. Gardner-Webb is ESPN Plus. South Alabama is going to be ESPN2. And, of course, the rest of the games to be determined. But you get national television with FS1 because it's Penn State. You get coverage on ESPN2, which is national. I would say, to a lesser extent, CBS Sports Network could be considered national, not to the level of ESPN2 or FS1, and of course ESPN Plus. I don't want to call that regional. It's accessible to anybody that has ESPN Unlimited or ESPN Plus, the streaming package. But I think if the games are on ESPN Plus, I would prioritize my fans over anything. If it's on ESPN, ESPN2, and FS1, then I would accommodate the national broadcast if I had some say in the matter. But do athletic directors in the Sun Belt really have too much of a say at this point? If Marshall at JMU gets picked up, you're going to play that game when it's convenient for television. And that's the case right there. Nothing too drastic, I would think. I don't think it's going to be shifted, off of Saturday. But if ESPN comes in and says, "Hey, that's going to be our game. We're going to play that at noon." Yeah, well, there you go. You're playing Marshall and JMU on the big screens across the tri-state and all the watch parties and all the restaurants. You're playing that at noon. For those that can't get to it, you're watching that at noon because of the TV. But I would take that over Tuesday and Wednesday night games, even though Marshall was probably among the first schools to be a part of the midweek action that is now known as MACtion. But again, Marshall-Toledo in 1999, that was compelling football. Absolutely. That was compelling football at the time. Of course, if you weren't there, trust me, it definitely was. And I do miss those football matchups between the Herd and the Rockets. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. You're listening to The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Shop from people that care about the bluegrass.
Fast, friendly, and ready when you are. Clark's Pump and Shop.
Hey, stop at Clark's before we hit the pool.
At Clark's Pump and Shop, we care about the community. Download the Clark's Rewards app and save on fuel, snacks, and drinks all season long.
Clark's was a great call.
Cool off at Clark's Pump and Shop.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Summer starts here. It's Moses Auto Mall of Huntington 9th Street Live every Friday night in Huntington. Presented by Michelob Ultra, White Claw, Big Timber, and Country Boy Brewing. Friday, July 31st, it's the John Ingram Band. The Little Caesars Kids Zone is back, and Gomart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy 9th Street libations from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe, Sip Downtown Brasserie, and Summit Beer Station, featuring Tito's, Milagro Tequila, Rebel Bourbon, High Noon, and Lucky One. The after-show party takes place at Jerk Riley's at Pullman Square. Mark your calendar for August 7th for ONA. The Thundering Herd Rally with Madhouse is Friday, August 14th. Sponsored by Wendy's, Huntington Beverage Center, Sods, Apex Tech, The Great Outdoors Marine, Village Caregiving, Thoroughbred Express Wash, the City of Huntington, Marshall University, Blinko Glass Company, Marshall Health Network Arena, and Kendrick Communications.
We asked kids what it took to be a dad. This is what they had to say.
A father is always present. I mean, what real father figure can you have if they're not there?
In order to be a good dad, you need to love your son. You need to put gas in your car so you don't break down in the middle of nowhere. And you need to make them breakfast. Yep.
I mean, just to maybe play like a board game with me, or to just stay home and play some video games with me. Just to do like that one little thing is what I really look forward to.
I'm not asking him to be a perfect dad, but he should try. He's just a constant force in my life.
There's no other type of love like a dad's love because it's not comparable to anything else.
Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Okay, gang, so chances are there'll never be an emergency ever again.
Mm-hmm.
But just in case, let's talk about a plan.
Okay.
So who's gonna do what? Anyone? Yeah, okay, perfect. We'll figure it out as we go. So, who is going to grab the go bag?
What's a go bag?
It is a bag we do not have that is filled with things we really, really need in an emergency.
Guess we won't have to worry about it then.
Ah, good point. So, we all know who to call if something happens then, right?
I'd have to call Jill, Devin, Melissa, Karen, and Bruce.
And I will try to call all of you, but Greg doesn't have a cell phone. Dad's phone will have a dead battery.
No doubt.
And Julie will be on the phone with Jill, Devin, Melissa, Karen, and Bruce.
Well, this is great. I am so glad that we don't have a plan.
I know.
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency, who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. A public service announcement brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
What's your favorite high school sports memory? A late inning rally? A game-winning shot? A photo finish? Maybe it's a pep rally or a pregame ritual. Maybe it's the euphoria of a late-night bus ride home after a hard-fought win. Maybe it's having pizza with teammates after the game. Now, imagine if it never happened at all. School sports need your help. With budgets getting tighter, it's more than the games that are on the line. It's all the traditions, the community pride, the culture of your hometown high school. Plus, all those memories that are on the line, too. What can you do? It's simple. Buy a ticket when you can. Go to a game. Take the whole family. Let's do everything we can to keep those cherished school sports memories alive.
This message presented by the West Virginia Secondary School Activities Commission and the West Virginia Athletic Directors Association.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talkline, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Thank you, Dave. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, 10:06 in the morning, it is Metro News Talk Line right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I hope you're having a great start to your week. We've got your text line open, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. You can also find me on X at Paul Swann. Getting closer to the start of football season, so X has actually been a little bit more entertaining for me today. I found a few things that really kind of caught my attention today. First of all, some of the accounts I follow, like Fun Belt Sports, put top 20 all-time receiving yards leaders. Okay, Fun Belt Sports. And 5 of the names are Marshall guys that never played in the Sun Belt. Mike Barber is second all-time in the all-time receiving yards list. And I'm like, wait a minute. Mike Barber? Then there's Darius Watson. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Watts? Are we talking just every all-time leader at a Sun Belt school or all-time receiving yards? Top 20 all-time receiving yards leaders. And we're lumping everybody together. La Tech has the 1 and 3 spot. And then you got Josh Davis is in this thing, and Tommy Schuler. Everybody loves Tommy Schuler. All of you, Rakeem Cato, Tommy Schuler, that's the greatest quarterback-receiver duo of all time, people. You know who you are. And then there's this Randy Moss kid who was in the list, and I just retweeted this for fun and said Darius Watts terrorized the Sun Belt. Can you imagine if Darius Watts was in the Sun Belt? Randy Moss was in the Sun Belt wrecking this thing. I think I get where they're going. It's like, here are all the top people at these Sun Belt schools, and it kind of gives the vibe of like, wait a minute, Darius Watts in the Sun Belt? No. So that amused me. And then there was something else that I saw today on X, and again, it caught my attention. I'm not that familiar with for this account, but like, all right, I'll give you some engagement. This is Throne Spud. Okay, so Throne Spud. And a few people that I know follow Throne Spud. And I didn't go too deep into this, but each state's flagship FBS college football program. And it says, these programs are the first to pop in your head when you think of CFB in these states. And they can sometimes break outside the borders of their own state. Wait a minute. Okay. So let me look at this map here. And, all right, let's see. Florida, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Florida owns Florida. Georgia owns Georgia. Clemson owns South Carolina. North Carolina owns North Carolina. All right. Tennessee owns Tennessee. Okay, that makes sense. UK owns Kentucky. All right. Notre Dame owns Indiana. Okay. Michigan owns Michigan. Okay, yeah. Ohio State, yeah. Penn State owns Pennsylvania. All right. Syracuse owns Syracuse. Okay. Let's see. Virginia Tech's got Virginia, right? Did we mention that? Oh, by the way, Virginia Tech in the state of West Virginia in this map. What? Are you kidding me? When you think of college football in the state of West Virginia, when you think of college football, this is the premise here. Do you think of Virginia Tech? What world was this map maker living in? What absolute world, what bizarro world did this come from? Virginia Tech is the first college football program that comes into your mind when you think of college football in the state of West Virginia? Again, this is the reason why I stayed off X for a while. And then the all Sunbelt name team from our friends over at Sunbelt Syndicate caught my attention today. Here's some of the names. I did repost this as well. I was asking for some love for Cole Funderburg. Did not make the list, but let's see. Big Al Oliver from App State. Goose Crowder from Troy. Keba Seka from Georgia Southern. Bright Fagbagmimi, no. ULM, no. I need a pronunciation guide on that. I'm going to have to dig that up. Phoenix Donunga from JMU. No, I'm going to have to brush up on that before Marshall plays JMU. Jalen Slappy, yeah, I hear he's a pretty good kid at Marshall University. Old Dominion, Shaq Leaks. Andre Feast from Arkansas State. Priest Ash from Louisiana. Siler Korn from La Tech. Cube Gurley from South Alabama. And the honorable mentions are Joe Round, Southern Miss. Tamarian LaFortune from Coastal. Or LaFortune, I'm sorry. Tamarian LaFortune, my mistake, for Coastal Carolina from the Chanticleers. And then Braxton Kitchens from Georgia State. Okay, there's not a bad list there. But I was looking for some love for Cole Funderburk, but apparently, talking to the guys over at Sunbelt Syndicate, they're like, we got to have one from each. All right. Okay, it's cool. Your list. So that's what's happening on X. Maybe I'm going to exile myself again for a few days before we get back into the swing of things. You can find me over there as well at Paul Swann. I would appreciate the follow. And you can message me anytime. Text line 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 is the number to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Texter writes in and says, Paul, I would never want to go back to Maction. I'm glad we are out of that. Appreciate the thought there. I don't know. Can you imagine Tuesday night football game and a Wednesday night? Your weekend would be free, right? Yeah. I mean, think of it. You got the Tuesday night Maction game, and then, you got the Wednesday night Maction, and maybe another Wednesday. Your weekend's free, right? I mean, come on, give it a shot. A lot of people will be watching. Remember, that's what Doc Holliday would say. Every time Marshall had one of those off-night games, hey, we're going to be on TV. Let me back that up. That almost was starting to get into a bad Elvis there. I'm not even going to try to do the Doc Holliday voice. Get into that straightforward monotone that Doc had. But he would talk about, like, hey, this is a big deal because we are going to be the only game on. And I would look at him and go, yeah, if you're looking for a college football game, I get that. But if you're playing on a Thursday night, you got to compete with the NFL. If you're playing on a Friday night, you're competing with high school football across the country. That's tough to compete with. I mean, I was surprised, though, years ago when Marshall was in the Mid-American Conference, played that Friday night game against UCF, and I thought to myself, this is going to be a complete disaster. It's high school football Friday night. This is going to be a complete disaster, and there was like 30,000, I think, in the stadium for that, and because we were doing high school football back at the old station I used to work on, and it's like, okay, no, maybe I was wrong here. Herd fans decided to come out and support the Herd over maybe high school football. Then again, there are a lot of Herd fans that you don't have kids or they've graduated, so you're not tied into a high school football on a Friday night. And, that really impressed me. I'm like, okay, all right. So I don't know if I like Friday high school football competing with college football, to be quite fair. That's one of the things I do like to keep separated. I think Fridays should be for the high schools and Saturdays should be college. Sundays for NFL. Thursday's more of an NFL night for me anyway now. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, reserved for the Mid-American Conference. And I just hope the Sun Belt doesn't get into the habit of making it a feature instead of an occasional, hey, we want to showcase a game on an off night. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter says, Paul, the MAC is a step down from the Sun Belt Conference, in my opinion. I'd hate for Marshall to have to play in the middle of the week, but I don't mind the occasional Thursday game. Appreciate the thoughts there. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I do agree. 100%. When it comes to the schedule, the alert for me in the Mid-American Conference was at one point the travel, the familiarity, the rivalries. I like Toledo. I like having Toledo on the schedule. I like Ohio. I like seeing Marshall play Miami. There were some good matchups and some rivalries there that I really liked. And would I like to see more of those schools? Yeah, sure. I really would. And there could be arguments made, but you get out of the Mid-American Conference, you get a Conference USA because it was a better television deal at the time. And then you get the heck out of the Sun Belt when it starts to fall apart and not become really the league that you thought you were getting in the beginning. and the Sun Belt was just such an enticing offer. The Sun Belt is doing the geography and the regional rivalries correct. I mean, Marshall, JMU, that's going to really grow into something, I hope, in the near future. Marshall's got a nice thing with Old Dominion. Marshall's got a nice history with Appalachian State, Georgia Southern. You know, I like playing Saturday college football. I like the occasional Thursday game if it's a big matchup. I mean, I wouldn't throw, like, say, Marshall, Georgia State out there because those two don't have, say, the history of, say, Marshall, App State, Marshall, Georgia Southern. I would try to make those matchups make sense. Like, okay, is this a potential matchup that has some interest? And if that answers that immediately, then I look at all the other factors to see if this game makes the most sense as a Thursday night candidate for the television package. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Get the last roof you'll ever need with steel roofing from Menards. Steel roofing provides your home with the best protection from wind, hail, and fire. Choose from 29 stylish colors to enhance your home's appearance. Available in cut-to-length panels that cover a large area for fast installation. Shop our selection of roofing products today. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards. Hey, Mom, now that I have an after-school job, I think I want to buy a drum kit.
Okay, Rockstar. Let's look at your account. When kids start making money, Chase has easy-to-use tools and expert bankers to help them learn how to manage it.
And next month, I'll buy the bass drum and the cymbals. Oh, and maybe some noise-canceling headphones for you.
Aw, you've thought of everything. Help kids save, budget, and build financial independence, all with Chase. That's good for kids and good for parents. Visit your local Chase branch and get started.
Account subject to approval. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Last night we put on an epic light show.
Yeah, we did.
The crowd loved us. We love the crowd.
Wait, but there were only 4 people out there.
Yeah, but did you see their 4 faces? All 8 of their eyes lit up brighter than ours. And we're fireflies.
Yeah, we are.
Hey, that one girl, she looked like she'd never seen glow in the dark like this before, and we invented glow in the dark.
Yeah, we invented it.
And we're gonna be out here every night, rocking out our light show at a forest near you.
Woohoo!
So come check us out.
Check us out.
And bring your kid, all ages show. Oh, but don't bring any of those glass jars, because they make us kind of nervous.
Yeah, and I'm super claustrophobic.
Whether you're rocking their world or they're rocking yours, some memories never fade. Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you and discover other cool things to do when you go, like fishing, biking, or even camping. Visit discovertheforest.org.
See you later.
Yeah, see you soon.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Get the last roof you'll ever need with steel roofing from Menards. Steel roofing provides your home with the best protection from wind, hail, and fire. Choose from 29 stylish colors to enhance your home's appearance. Available in cut-to-length panels that cover a large area for fast installation. Shop our selection of roofing products today. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Plenty of time for your text in our final segment, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We're going over some of the all-name team members Sunbelt Syndicate put out. I was pleased that Jalen Slappy made the list, but I was also lobbying for a couple of names to be included. You look at the list. I was sitting there thinking Cole Thunderberg should have been on this list, but one name per school, I get it. Texter says, Paul, I thought Lunch from Louisiana would have been a better name than what they picked. I had to look this up real quick. Lunch Winfield. Texture also adds Torch Marshall a couple of years ago. Yeah, that's a good one. Torch Marshall. That's a cheer if I've never heard one. Torch Marshall. But Lunch Winfield from Louisiana. Do you think Lunch Winfield from Lutcher, Louisiana would have been a better name than Priest Ash from Louisiana? Lunch Winfield probably gets a little bit more love from us because who doesn't love lunch, right? Everybody likes lunch. You like lunch? I like lunch. And then there's Winfield. Everybody likes Winfield. You can't complain about that. So Winfield and lunch, absolutely two things we like. And then I do like Priest Ash. It's an interesting play on words. It's an interesting it really is. I would say lunch wins though. When in doubt, always pick lunch. So it's definitely a good name. I just Big Al Oliver from App State. Was there not a better name than Big Al Oliver? I kind of question this a little bit. Again, that's why I was advocating. Let's remove someone from another team. Let's get Funderburk on the list here. But no, got to have one rep from each team. All right, I love those guys at Sunbelt Syndicate. They do a fantastic job. So quick shout out to them. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 is the number to be a part of the show today on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I might have to do some homework tonight. Big Al Oliver, it's an okay name. It made the all-name team, but is it better than the honorable mentions were Joe Rounds? Okay, I don't think Joe Rounds is fine. Tamarian LaFortune, that's okay, and then Braxton Kitchens. I might like Braxton Kitchens better than Big Al Oliver. I do think the Shaq Leaks is a great name. Cube Gurley that's a name right there. Cube Gurley. Siler Corn, okay, I would go with that completely. Andre Feast, that's not too bad. I'd have to see the roster for App State. Is that the best name you can come up with from App State? Not that I want to take this kid's honor away, but Big Al Oliver, that doesn't feel like an all-name team first teamer right there by any stretch of the imagination. Now you got me thinking, I might have to put this out. We're going to have the all-name team for Marshall University. Somebody's got that list already. I'm not going to do the homework because I know one of you have that list, and hopefully it will arrive to me soon. All right, that's about going to do it for today's edition of the show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I appreciate everyone taking me with you on your drive today. Don't forget, we got baseball coming up tonight. It's going to be the Pirates taking on the Diamondbacks. We go on the air at 6:15. Pirates getting the win over the Cubs yesterday, 8-7. Looking really strong right now. We could be talking about the wild card Pittsburgh Pirates. And Diamondbacks are in the way right now. So that could be a positive outcome for the Pirates. You can catch that tonight. Again, 6:15 right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And, of course, other action tonight, Battle of Ohio will be the Reds taking on the Guardians. I'll be keeping an eye on that one as well. As, again, you know how I feel about the Cleveland Guardians. Not the biggest fan of the Cleveland Guardians, the Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Anything else in Cleveland, not a big fan of that either. I think that we've established that. If we haven't, let me reiterate that. But, of course, we'll be back with you tomorrow here. And, of course, we're getting closer to the start. Of course, camp. And that means also that much closer to the start of football season. Don't forget, you can check out the show anytime. If you missed an episode, we'll get them uploaded as soon as we can on the podcast page. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, or you can go directly to the website at WRVC.com. Thanks for tuning in to today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.